you know, the word emotion kind of distorts everything because, like, when you take the letter E and you equate that to the word feelings, you kind of mess up the motion of things. So remove the E and keep moving. That's what you do with it.
Spitting that P to the IMP. Keep spitting that P to the IMP. Keep spitting that P to the IMP. Ain't nothing but pimpin' these days. Keep spitting that P to the IMP. Keep spitting that P to the
Welcome back to another episode of Elevated Dialogue here on the Uncle Junior Network. I am the Uncle Junior, and on the panel today we have Victor, Women Have No Code Viziant, Christopher from across the table, McClellan, and today our special guest, Elliot Strongman host. I won't do justice by introducing him, but I will start off by saying that he is someone who I have followed for many years, all the way back to my deployments in Iraq. Elliot is the king of making men strong, and he has been gracious enough to take time out of his busy schedule and join us. So welcome to the show, Elliot. And please take a few minutes to let the audience know who we are before we jump into an elevated dialogue. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay, you waiting on me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go first. My name's Elliot Hills. I'm a master's level strongman because I'm over 40 now, and that's what they call the old guys, master.
Yeah.
And so I'm also a strength coach. And what's my profession is to help men grow stronger. Mainly it was for sports and powerlifting, strength sports, things of that nature. I own a gym in St. Petersburg, Florida named Strength Camp. I'm a CEO of Strength Camp. And I also happen to be a father of 4, husband to my wife for over 20 years, and a father figure to millions of men worldwide through YouTube. I didn't intend to ever be a YouTube influencer. I just started using it in order to get more people to come to my gym. And it just so happened that in 2007, when YouTube first started out, and I first started out, I kind of caught the wave there, and people caught on very quickly to my methods for building strength, which turned out to be multifaceted. And so that's always been my position, that strength is a multifaceted modality. And so, here we are today, almost 20 years later.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and it's been a wild ride. It's been amazing, and I'm happy to be here with you, bro.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you being here, man. I've been following you, like I said, for a long time, so it's kind of cool to have somebody I've been following for so long to actually be part of my show. So I really appreciate you being here. But let's get right into it, man. We're gonna go around the horn. Whoever wants to start to show off with, let's define what strength is. Whoever wants to start, let's roll with it.
Man, I think strength is resiliency. And if I had to have like a one-word definition right up top, because people define, how hard it is to keep you down, your persistence, words that's associated with you accomplishing a goal, so strength is resiliency. It's one of those two-way words.
Okay.
What is strength? Well, I guess strength would be a measurement of how strong you are, but I believe that there are different kinds of strength. There's mental, physical, and in some cases, emotional strength. And there's a certain measurement as to how strong you are. So I guess that would be my definition of strength, for a broad definition, for lack of a better term.
Roll with it. What say you, Mr. Elliott?
Strength is overcoming resistance, right? So anytime we're in the gym and we press a weight, pick up a weight, squat a weight, lift the weight off the floor, we're overcoming what? Resistance. And so, to the degree that you can overcome the resistance, is to the degree that you're strong, right? So, a man who can lift 300 pounds is stronger than a man who can pick up 200 pounds. It's also very objective. You can't say that guy is stronger than him because he feels stronger. No, who picked up the heavier weight? That's how you determine who's stronger.
Yeah.
And it goes the same way in life. I like the fact that Chris said that it's mental, it's emotional, because who can overcome the resistance better? A man who can overcome the resistance of an emotional attack is a stronger man than a man who crumbles under the weight of his anger or his fear or his lust. A man who can overcome negative thoughts, demonic thoughts, thoughts that seek to derail him, is a man that's mentally stronger than a man who can't overcome that resistance. So it really boils down to your ability to confront and overcome resistance in any aspect of your life.
Is strength also control, the ability to be able to control said emotions or actions or strengths and or weaknesses?
Yes. Unequivocally.
Yeah. So you feel like in order for a man to have a certain level of strength, they have to have a certain amount of control. Or can you be a strong man without having control?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe you can be strong and not have control.
No.
I'll just break it down to a physical level. You can't lift 200 pounds on the bench press bar without controlling the bar and controlling your body to stabilize yourself, so that way you can get it down on you and then have the thought process like, this weight is going to kill me, and then push it up off your chest. You have to have some sort of control when it comes to that. So I don't believe you can have one without the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I think about somebody who's out of control, right? That somebody triggers their emotions and they just fly off the handle and they can't handle themselves. They can't maintain themselves. They have no ability to have self-control. And so, yeah, you absolutely need control, or strength is represented by control. I do believe so.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's jump to the next question. So the next question is mental strength. Is mental or physical strength more important? And I know that can probably be subjective. It can come down to the individual, but I would like to kind of sort of get a baseline. And when, if nothing else, at least in your opinion, what do you feel is more important for you to have more physical or mental? Or like Chris, can you not have one without the other?
You can't have mental strength without physical strength. It starts in the mind. Every action begins with thought. So you have to think that you're strong in order for you to be strong. And you have to constantly tell yourself, I'm strong. It's something that I fight with a lot. Like, it's really something that I fight with a lot. You can't have you can't have physical strength without the mental. You have to picture yourself being strong before you actually manifest the strength to become strong.
But you can have the mental without the physical.
I think if you have the mental, the physical will come.
That's why I said you can't have one without the other. It starts with the one.
You got to have a mindset first, because just like when you talk about pressing big weight and stuff like that, you don't have to go. You can't go into grabbing big weight and guessing if it's gonna go back up when you grab it. You say my weight, and you visualize the end. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have some sort of repetition in your mind that you've already seen play out that helps you, persevere during the moment. So all of that happens in your mind before your body even executes it. So, and if you don't have it there, you won't have it on the execution. You won't. It's just potential energy trying to become kinetic. You know what I'm saying? But as powerful as you think of it is what like your skills allow you to manifest that outcome. So it has to be in the mind first.
Yeah, it makes me think sometimes though too, because you see these like giant professional athletes, big strong men, and some of them are like big mama's boys. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like you take this big giant linebacker for the New York Jets or something, and like you take away his cell phone or something like that, he'll probably break down crying, give me back my phone, give me back my phone,
or throw a
his
temper
girlfriend
tantrum
cheats on him. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, who are these giant men, these big, strong, powerful, athletic men that these little 130-pound women are breaking their hearts, and they go home and they cry and they're depressed and they want to commit suicide?
Yeah, wow, absolutely.
Right. So it's kind of crazy. Like you could be physically strong, but you could also be emotionally and mentally weak, and people could smell that from a mile away. There's a lot of guys that walk around a lot of big muscles, but the minute you talk to them, you recognize this is a weak man.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah, I don't know if for me personally, if I would choose the two, I think it's more important to have the mental strength. Just if I had to to choose one, I see a lot of you see people who are like super overweight, but you will see them, they be like multimillionaires. You know what I mean? They can stay up for 12, 15, 18 hours a day, knock out some PowerPoint or some code or something, and they can just do it. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
Wow.
or they can sit there and play games all night long, in their mama's basement. But
Yeah.
it takes a certain amount of mental strength to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. Why is
Yeah.
it important? Why is it important for men to be strong,
Nobody's
mentally
coming
or
to save,
physically?
nobody's coming to save you, fam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that part.
Like start there. But then if you have that part right there, it changes, like the way that you go about uh handling some of the most menial tasks, like if a mosquito lands on your face, you swat at it way differently than you would if it landed on your leg. You see what I'm saying? You start coming up with more uh, functional solutions versus something that can land you with some legal trouble or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said earlier, Elliot, when you mentioned you know blowing off negative thoughts and then still maintaining control and stuff like that, that's part of that whole you know mental toughness that tells you how to use your body in a certain situation. So you got to have a response and recognizing your triggers, and then memory banking those, that is mental toughness at its finest. You know what I'm saying? And being willing to criticize yourself to get better instead of defeating yourself before you even start.
What say you, Chris? Or Coach, you want to jump in on this? We just popped up with this question. Welcome to the show, Coach. How's it going,
What's
brother?
up, Coach?
Hey,
Coach in the building.
what's up, gentlemen? I apologize for my tardiness. Listen, I don't want to just jump in. I want to just kind of like get into the flow and listen to how everybody answers this question. That'd be very rude of me, man. So just let me just go with the flow for a second.
Yeah, you're already late.
Yeah, already late. Already rude. No, I'm just
Hey, respect for tardiness, bro. Now,
Respect for tardiness.
Respect. Hey, we have fun over here, Elliot, man. It's all
Yeah.
man. We all like in our 40s, man, and what I
Yeah.
mean. We just try to enjoy ourselves, man. It ain't no, we have code over here. You know what I mean? So that's where the code comes in. Vic book. So, but yeah. So I'll answer this. Why is it important for a man to be strong? Men. We're supposed to be leaders, especially the ones of us that are married who want to be married. Like we have to lead. And if you're physically and or mentally weak, there are just going to be some certain things you're not going to be able to do. Certain things, certain tasks you're not going to be able to accomplish. You know what I mean? If you physically weak and someone comes at the door at 12 or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, like you might want to have a little bass in your voice. You might want to have some physical strength. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, it's just me
Yeah.
personally. I want to be able to defend my family if someone comes up to the door. I want to win, some of the arguments. So I need to have a little bit of mental strength there as well. Because if you've been married, sometimes you have arguments and disagreements and different things like this. But just if you're leading, the mental strength has to be there because at the end of the day, the direction that the family goes is ultimately your responsibility. So if you're weak mentally and you can't lead because of you're weak mentally, then I think it's going to cause problems for everything that comes up under you. But that's my 2 cents on the question. Anybody else want to take a jab at it? On
Man.
why is it important for a man to be
I'm,
strong
I'm, I'm,
physically or
waiting, I'm
mentally?
waiting for Coach to clean up. I felt like he was ready to jump in, and then he wasn't, and then you know what I'm saying. Like I trust him when he shoot from the hip, you know. So
and that's exactly what this is going to be, brothers. Shooting from the hip. If I repeat anything that any of you esteemed young men have already said, please accept my apology.
Esteemed. I like it.
mhm.
Brother, men are standards, bro. That's why I participate. Um, listen, here's the deal. So I think it's an easy idea, and I think it's kind of like antiquated thinking just to assume that we are only just physically fit. Of course, that's how it used to be years ago, and I still think that's necessary for us to be physically fit. And then as we mature, we realize that that fitness that we're talking about is not just physically, but it's also mentally, like Garfield was saying, and probably some of you others have mentioned as well. It's not just mentally as well, it's also emotionally. Because one of the things that I understand as a father that has daughters, my daughters need me to be emotionally stable so that they can understand how to manage their emotions as they become older. So, what I'm talking about, and again, if I'm saying the same thing again, I apologize. I'm talking about the total man. So the total man has to be physically fit, has to be mentally fit, has to be emotionally fit, right? Understanding how to balance that all out, how to apply which one in any given situation to achieve what we like to call the decisive advantage. That decisive advantage puts us in a position so that we can care for our loved one, protect the pack, and then continue to gain ground based upon whatever it is that we choose to do in our lives. So when we talk about why is it important for a man to be strong, and if we just stop there, that strength is more than just muscles. It doesn't exclude it, right? That is a part of it. But when you talk about the total package, brother, that's where our strength lies. Our strength lies in being holistically healthy from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet.
I like that.
Hmm.
Anything you want to add to that, Elliot?
If men aren't strong, who's going to be strong? Right? There's this whole idea that women are supposed to be strong and independent, but men are actually stronger than women. And this whole world has turned us topsy turvy, making men believe that we're supposed to be submissive to the weaker gender. And it's not to say that that devalues the females. It means that they have so much value that it is required for men to step up and be that protector, be that provider. But again, in this world where the protector and provider mostly is the government, all right, through the law system and through all kinds of programs and stuff. So the men they really don't have anything to step up to. We really don't have a reason to be strong, right? Because if somebody's going to take care of you, somebody's going to take care of everything. If someone's going to be the big daddy, then men could just slack off, get drunk, smoke weed, play video games, masturbate, and just jerk off their life. And that's pretty much where we're at right now in this culture. We're in a situation where men have no reason to be strong. And so as a result, they swim in effeminacy. And then women, on the other hand, they don't need no man. They make all the money they want. They can have babies out of wedlock. They can kill their baby if they want. They can do whatever they want. Why? Because men are asleep at the wheel. Weak.
Weak men. I like it. So what does it take to be so what does it mean to be a strong man? What does it take? What does it mean to be a strong man?
Well, in this regard, the very first thing is setting boundaries. Setting boundaries, understanding what boundaries need to be set, and putting your foot down. A weak man can't say no, right? And so, I mean, if you're going to be a warrior, you got two things, right? You got your sword and you got your shield, but you don't go out there without your shield. That's the first thing, is your protection. And so a man that can't protect himself, can't protect his ideals, can't protect value, can't protect the borders and the boundaries, is a man's going to be walked all over.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
and you see a lot of them. You see a lot of weak men every day.
I used to be one.
Used to be one. I think. Explain.
I used to be one of those guys that didn't have any boundaries. I used to be one of those guys that didn't have any standards. I used to be one of those guys that would go along with everything just to go along with it, till I pulled myself out of the environment that I was in, and I looked at it and I said, this is getting me nowhere. And once I figured that out, and once I saw how finding who I am and walking my own path what that actually looks like and I started doing it, life just instantly started getting better for me. I lost a lot of so-called friends and a lot of so-called girlfriends in the meantime, but I mean, it is what it is. With growth comes sometimes separation.
Mm-hmm.
Where I know we kind of talked about it last podcast, but um well, I meant to ask, but how did like where did you get the information to kind of sort of start this transformation? Like it's not like you just woke up one day and was like, hey, you know what, now I think differently. Like there had to be a transition. You had to come across some information from somewhere. So where did it start?
Patrice O'Neal.
That guy is
Patrice
great.
O'Neal. That's where it started.
Mm,
Patrice O'Neal. And when I
mm-hmm,
started listening to him and I started listening to the Black Phillip show, and then I started coming across Black manosphere spaces like O'Shea,
mm,
Obsidian,
mm,
Elliot, because I remember when you
mm-hmm.
were back in the day and now you're a mountain of muscle. Um, and I started coming across other content creators like Mike Rashid, CT Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
I started looking at what they were doing and I saw like, wow, like these are like, this is, I'm not going to say this is what I want to be, but the strength aspect of it is where I wanted to go. And I knew that before I got the strength aspect of it, I had to get the mental aspect of it. And that's when I started going to therapy. And when I started going to therapy and started figuring out why I was the way that I was, and I started changing and rewiring my brain, that's when the changes on the outside started. Because I hate to be one of those guys that talks like that, but the outside world is a reflection of your inside world. And if your inside world is in turmoil, your outside world is going to be trash. So I had to go inside, and self-reflection and self-accountability is quite possibly the most horrible feeling thing that you will ever go through, but it is so necessary because I needed to feel what that was so that way I know I never want to feel that again. And that's where I am now.
Did I know Elliot or Coach or Vic, anybody else, did y'all have a transformation, or were you guys kind of sort of always looked at yourself as kind of like strong men, masculine type men? I know for me, mine was a transition. Um, but just for you, someone else having an experience to where maybe they were always like a strong man, or did they have a transition as well?
Well, I had my pops, you know what I'm saying, for, like all of my life until he passed in 2018. And I grew up seeing a hardworking man that came from a hardworking family. You know what I'm saying? And then all the men in my family on both sides are hardworking men, servicemen, lawyers, just men that have very have they do accountable work. You know what I'm saying? So it trickles into what how they live every day. Because you are what you do at some point. So if you function in a certain capacity that's requires a lot of admin, you're probably gonna be pretty solid on admin. Like in your everyday life. It's gonna be some sort of transitive value that the profession, what I'm saying, that those gentlemen are in translates into how they run their lives. So like I had a good, baseline, what I'm saying, on both sides of my family because it's just hardworking men on both sides. So I never understood like, a woman taking care of a man. I didn't grow up seeing, I didn't experience that. I always was always told that nobody's coming to save you. You got to have a skill, a hustle, and a job. You know what I'm saying? You had to be good at something. You had to be good at something,
Mm-hmm.
and you just couldn't, be good at sitting around, which is what our culture is kind of like, what I'm saying, become to some degree. And and when I say culture, I mean Western culture at that, because everybody's got a device, and we all have to utilize it in a way, shape, or form. It's so intertwined in everything we do. It's hard not to be a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just take measured approaches to for healthy uses of it. So in the whole conversation about strength, physical fitness and mental fitness, like all of that is you know what I'm saying, is tied into how I was raised and using the tools that's out here to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish in life. So I had that because my granddad used to make barbecue grills out of 55-gallon drums. You know what I'm saying? So I watched him take that, cut them up, and sell them to grocery stores. So I had a vision of entrepreneurship from the get go. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that there was hard work associated with being successful in business at some point. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have anything to offer, you can't ask nobody for anything. You know what I'm saying? So, and that goes down to help. So that's just the way I was raised. But I've seen other people outside of my bubble that I could say that my family did a great job in protecting us from. Was like, I see how there's a difference in men that was raised with and without their fathers. You know what I'm saying? And being raised by just their mothers, you know. So I know that I had some instincts and skill that I just got from genetics off top. You know what I'm saying? And I just had to do the work to trigger them, so I knew how to use my gifts. So, you know, a strong, you know what I'm saying, start point is always key. You know.
Yeah. So you had a strong start point. Did you have a strong start point, coach, or was yours a more of a transition?
Yeah, so thank you for asking me. So mine, I'm like Chris, right? See, I
Hmm.
was raised by my mother. Like my mother and my father separated when I was 3 years old. Papa was a Rolling Stone. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. However, I learned some things about him as I got older. He had this facade about life that he wanted everybody to buy into, but that facade was not the real him. Fortunately enough for me, I was not raised in a house with him. I say again, they separated when I was about 3. So I was raised by my mother. So I will say, from the standpoint of my mother, she couldn't raise me to be a man. So what she did, she strategically placed my uncles in my life, and though and those men, between my uncles, my grandfather, those men became the men that I needed to lean on to understand what manhood was all about. My mother focused on raising me to be a good person. She
Mhm.
taught me how to be responsible. She taught me how to respect people and all those great things. So as I progress forward, did I have it a little mixed up in my head? Absolutely, as I believe all young men do. But at the end of the day, you go from understanding dependency to transactional to transformational. And once I understood that, just like Chris, once I hit that transformational phase, I knew how to change this thing here so that I could create the outcome that I wanted to create. I will be honest with you, I never seen growing up a person make 6 figures. Never seen that in my life. Just being 100% transparent. I
Yeah, me
don't think
neither.
they really understand how detrimental that is to a young person. Like I think every person at a certain age needs to be within the company of those individuals who make 6 figures, those individuals who have successful relationships, those individuals who raise their children, men who stay in the home, being mothers, being fathers to their children, being husbands to their wives. We need to see that as young people. I'll give you a perfect example. I got a friend of mine in Virginia. He is the dude has like 15 titles. I'm not gonna lie, but one of the things that he did is he put together a field trip for what we would call underprivileged youth, young black, boys and girls that's
Mm.
around the age of 14, 15, 16 years old, whose society around that area has written off. They're going to be statistics, and he got them a field trip to the White House and got them in the room to see senators and all kind of things of that nature, people who look just like us. He said it's like when they walked out the room, they had such a gleam in their eye because they were in the presence of somebody who looked like them, who actually had not just a title, but had a position of authority to where they could be part of the decision makers. And for me, when I was growing up, I don't know what it was, bro. I just felt like I didn't belong there. I really can't put a finger on it. I just felt like everything to me was foreign. What they were telling me I couldn't have, I wasn't, I didn't believe that. I was even told at a certain point, like you dream too high. You need to come back down to reality. And I was like, what does that really mean? I don't understand that. So between like the work that my mother did and my uncles being there for me, helping me out, especially when my grandfather died. Man, my grandfather died, I was crushed because he is who I knew as daddy. Those men collectively kind of did the thing that my father never did. And so for people who look at me right now, most of them think I was raised in a dual family home. And what I want people to understand is that don't use that as an excuse not to develop into the man that you were destined to be. That's the key. I want every other young man, especially young men, that hears this. That's the thing I want them to understand. Don't allow the statistics to be your prophecy, right? You have to create the outcome that you want. And what does that mean? That means you need to talk to someone who has a better understanding of how to utilize their masculinity in a positive fashion to create the outcome that we need for our families and our community. Elliot, you hit it on the head, brother. You said brothers asleep at the wheel. I cannot agree with that more. Like I get caught up into looking at TikTok videos and I'm listening to the adversarial conversations to where women are bashing men, men are bashing women. Like, come on, man. It has to come to a certain point where we realize that we're not enemies. We are actually supposed to work together. That's the kingdom. Men and women working together to literally strengthen the families, the communities, and literally every state in this country. This is not the United States. We're so divided that we can't even understand it. So that's just my 2 cents, man. I know it was a little
Mm-hmm.
long-winded, bro, but
Are
yeah,
you good?
yeah.
Nah, I just want to jump over to Ellie real quick. Was you always consider yourself like a strong man, or was you, you know, or were you, had a kind of a transformation, kind of sort of like I and Chris did?
It's kind of funny because my story is like kind of a blend of everything you guys have said. It's crazy.
Mm,
I grew up with a strong father, but I didn't acknowledge him for what he was until I became a father myself. Because we live in a
mm,
gynocentric world, right? Where it's against the father. The whole world is against the father. And especially if you're a strong father, they call you toxic, they tell
yep.
you all kinds of things. You're
Controlling.
not right, you controlling, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just for being a strong boundary father. My father's from Belize, though, so he didn't grow up here in America where you receive a lot of the brainwashing and the cultural deterioration. He
Yep.
grew up in the jungle, so he didn't know nothing but the law of the jungle is like survival of the fittest. You're tough or you die, and so
Yeah.
that was the way it was for him when he came here. And I grew up in New York City public schools, so I was at odds with my father's values, and I thought my father was wrong. And I even adopted my mother's mindset with regard to my father. My parents are still together; they have a great relationship, but because I resisted my father, and because the culture is so feminized, I adopted my mother's view of my father. And it's not that it's a bad view, but it's a view, that is one that is pleasing to the female rather than elevating to the masculine. And so it wasn't until, I must have been like 27 years old, and I don't know what happened. It was just an evolution in my life. I started to like wonder about my father. I guess because I started having my own kids too. I have 4 kids by then. And so I started like wondering about my dad. And I started wondering like, what would my dad do? I started asking myself those questions. And it took me 27 years to come full circle and return to my father and recognize, wow, this guy's been right the whole time. The world has been telling me that he's wrong and his way of doing things is wrong and that he's toxic masculine. But then when I became a man myself, I realized he's actually everything that the men in this world need right now. So I venerate my father to the 10th degree at this point in my life because I finally see that he's what the world needs.
I can roll with that. One thing I do want to get into, I'm going to pivot a little bit. I know Chris may be excited about this topic, or maybe not be. I'm just picking.
Oh boy.
But I know it's something that you said that you have at least did some research about, and I know that it's talked about over on Elliot's platform as well. And that's semen retention. So how does, if you want to get into it, how does semen retention play a part in being a strong man? We were just talking about a little bit before the show. It's like I'm hearing about it a little bit more. I've never tried it. I've heard about it, especially with you, Elliot. And then I brought it up one time, and Chris was familiar with it as well. So, um, what, if anything, do you have to shed on how does semen retention play a part in a man being strong?
You know, I would begin with this, that we are mostly slaves to our lusts. We're mostly manipulated by what we want to do with our dicks. And either it's in the form of chasing women, watching porn, and just seeking pleasure. And I've just come to discover that if a man was to be emotionally strong enough not to have to live his life in seeking pleasure, and this usually in the form of chasing women, that he has much more control over himself. I know we talked about strength earlier. That's what's required. If you have to live your life, or if you spend, you know, a significant portion of your time, your resources, and your energy in the pursuit of blowing sterile loads in plastic bags with random broads, you're no better than an obese man who seeks donuts to satisfy his craving and then brags about it. That's the whole thing. The culture makes you think that there's some sort of virtue associated with being a fornicator and out there having sex with a whole lot, you know, sterile sex with lots of women. That's no better than an obese person or drug addict who needs to get his fix. The problem is that the culture sensationalizes it, and we don't realize that it's not just, okay, well, all right, so I'm having a good time and it feels good. It's what's destroying our culture. It is the very root of the degradation of our culture. Because why? Marriages don't work. Marriage is not working because we live in a hookup culture. And so it destroys a woman's ability to pair bond, right? A lot of guys complain, oh, these women, they're sluts. That's what the big complaint is. Women, oh, you can't trust them.
They for the streets.
Right, they're for the streets.
For the streets.
Well, who's boning them in the streets? We are.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones. We're the ones that made them for the streets. A woman is going to do. The women of a society reflect the quality of the man in the society. And if the women are trash, it's because the men are trashing them. And so I think that more than just semen retention as a means for masculine cultivation, I say weaponize chastity as a means for restoring the culture to tradition.
Meat management.
Me.
Yeah, meat management.
We just had a show about that, man.
Yeah,
Vic,
we just had a
please
show
go.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We step back into our power when we don't need sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's the biggest waste.
Mm-hmm.
I got that part of it from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, when he starts to talk about sex transmutation.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically, to paraphrase, he said, if you take the amount of energy that you put in chasing a girl or chasing a nut into chasing a goal or reaching a goal, you will be way farther than any man that's ever competing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Controlling it's a bottom of the barrel root kind of feeling that a lot of men don't know how to control. But in some cases, a lot of men will say that we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply and all of that. But I'm like, if you can't control your seed, you can't control your life.
Right.
So you got to control your seed. I started semen retention because I had a horrible porn addiction. Horrible. Like, I used to wake up in the morning, find a video, let off, and then go on about my day. But then I would see how sluggish I was, how I could concentrate, how I was looking at women. Like, I would look at women like I was looking at these porn stars, and then I had to sit back and I'm like, these women aren't actually real. Like, they get paid to do this. Like, this isn't the real thing. And these women really ain't like that. So I had to remove myself from that. And also the environment that I was in was trash too. So I guess it all starts with environment, but I had to think. And then I started doing a little bit of research, and I started doing the whole, can you go this long? Can you go this long? Can you go this long? And then I just said, okay, I'm just want to stop altogether. I'm just not going to watch. I'm not going to frivolously release my seed. I'm just going to see how my body reacts to it. And I guess you could say, I don't know if it's causation, but I'm going to say correlation. The longer I go, the stronger I get, both mentally and physically, because I got time now, and I got time to do other things instead of scrolling through my phone trying to find a good scene. You understand what I'm saying? And I look at women differently now too. I don't look at women as holes to poke. I look at women as someone that I could actually bond and build with. But like Elliot said, problem is hookup culture kind of trashed that. So now I kind of feel like I'm a man without a home, because I'm not out here frivolous with my seed, but I'm also not trying to be with a girl that's been ran through or that's for the streets anyway. So it's like, which way do I go? So I'm just going to continue on this path, because this path has been the path that's actually pushed me in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right.
I can roll with that. What you got up there, Vic?
I
I know you
think,
about to bag Antoine real quick for coming in late.
yeah, no, I didn't even
Mr.
know.
Hale.
40 minutes late.
Late as hell.
So, hey, sometimes like servicemen, sometimes you get forced into a voluntary semen retention.
Iraq, 15 months.
Yeah, so like,
yeah, especially when they ban porn out there too. Ain't that messed up, man? We go to Iraq 15 months and you ain't allowed to have no porn, like no magazines, no videos, no nothing. I'm like,
They
man,
did you a favor.
Don't play.
huh?
That's because Muslims don't play.
That's true.
Right? We can learn something from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and that's part of it too. Is like when you used to when you spent time in foreign countries and had to abide by other people's rules and cultures and stuff like that, you have a different appreciation for where you spend your time. So you make your time count differently. What's the point of having all of those unique or awkward or maybe painful experiences if you don't use it to your advantage? And if you find at any point that semen retention is necessary for you to get your focus, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Do it. Do whatever it takes to stay on track. Everybody got to find some sort of reference point, but definitely paying attention to where you spend your time with women is definitely going to be a factor in how fast you get to your goal and what type of shape you're in when you get there too. So
yeah, they're eating all them pies and donuts.
Yeah,
blowing your load every night.
Yeah,
you don't have time to do nothing. You be a big pile of mush at the end of the day. Antoine, does semen retention play a part in being a strong man?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, are you talking about semen retention with a girl or married, or are we talking about just you as a single man not watching porn and blowing it? I mean, what are we talking?
Pick one.
If you have a girl, she's gonna need that attention. So,
but she can also be a distraction.
It's pretty hard to be realistic. Sleep next to a girl in a nightie and you ain't doing nothing. So, I mean, I'm just saying. Besides that time of the month. So, what are we talking?
Let's say single man. You're a single man.
Yeah,
so
I think
in your situation, do you have to practice semen retention?
No, because I have self-control. I don't need porn or anything like that. I mean, it's great to watch if it's there, but it's not like I'm gonna go look for it. I mean, it's everywhere you look, anyways, right? So it all depends on if you make it into addiction or not. An addiction just means you can't control yourself from what you see, so you just got to get rid of it and altogether. It's not very. I mean, besides the drug thing and the alcohol thing and the things that really matter, those are different. Porn is. I mean, they say it's a big struggle and all this. It's not. Just turn off the TV. It's not that hard. You're just horny. Go find a girl. You'll be fine.
All things are true, Antoine.
Huh?
You don't think that there's a lot of men out there who struggle with porn addiction?
I mean, there's a lot of men that have it. Like any other thing, they'll turn a simple porn. They'll turn porn into something that, I mean, you could turn apples into an addiction. Like if you love apples, 1 or 2 a day is good. You eat 4, the acidity is gonna destroy your body, right? Anything could become an addiction. Is how much are you gonna attach yourself to it? You know when you're putting something bad in your body, just like you know when you're putting something good. Now, can you practice that discipline? Do you need to go see counseling? Some people do. That's why they have those places like alcoholism and drug addiction. And there's places you can go and, actually seek help. But if you don't want to take the time and go and seek help, then you're enjoying what you're doing. It's up to you to be responsible. You can't, you can't be pussified about everything in life. Go seek help. It's there. Now, if you don't want to seek help, that's on you. And I'm okay. It doesn't mean you're going to be in my company. But come on, sometimes you got to look in the mirror and man up and go, okay, you know what? I got a problem. There's there's tons of classes on alcoholism, tons of free classes on sex addiction. It's there. The only thing you have to do is say, you know what? Admit to yourself you have a problem, get your ass out of bed, and go and seek it. No one could tell you you have a problem unless you accept. They could tell you all you want, but unless you physically absorb it and mentally embrace it and say and admit it to yourself, you're not gonna get help. You're just not. And ain't nobody at a mat, ain't nobody gonna hold your hand and bring you there. Right? Now, if you have a good support group, good friends, good people around you, they'll encourage you to go and they'll even probably, be a sponsor, a mentor, or whatever they call that thing next to you and take you there. And I believe that. I have a good circle of friends. Your wolf pack should help you with that too. If you have a good set of friends. Listen, man, you're as good as the company you keep. I keep saying that.
Yes,
You
you
know,
do,
I
Antoine.
don't need a lot of friends.
Every show.
I don't need a lot of friends. I need the ones that care about me. The other ones, if you can't provide a service for me, really don't need you. Why am I going to waste my time with you? For what? I can get a drink by myself. I don't need you to go to a bar. Right? So if somebody has an addiction, there's help out there. And the first thing they need to do is like what they tell you. Admit you have the addiction. Admit you have the problem, then you can fix it. But you ain't gonna come cry me over and over and over and over again. Oh, we gotta fix this, dude. Seriously, you really gotta man up, man.
Coach, you want to tackle this question before we jump into the final thoughts?
Yeah, real quick. I've been attending the AA meetings here for the past couple of weeks, just as an observer, just so I can learn. And what I would tell you is that, I think Antoine makes a very good point, and his point is relatable to everything that has been said so far. Anything that occupies a great deal of space in your mind can be viewed as an addiction. That's the thing that we're getting at. So that thing which you're thinking about constantly, you're creating. So you continue to create that thing. So I have a porn addiction, I have a sex addiction, I have a drinking addiction, I have a drug addiction. Whatever that thing is, you're continuously thinking on that thing. So therefore, you're moving in a direction to do that thing. So think behavior. Just keep going back and forth doing the exact same thing over and over again. And then what ends up happening is that you're wasting a great deal of time and energy in your life because you're stuck in that space. And as I go to these meetings, I'm witnessing these people who have been in that place, whatever type of addiction we're talking about. And this particular meeting is not just a alcohol meeting; it's drug, alcohol, sex. It's all inclusive. Um, but the idea is that regardless of who you are, you can move out of that space if you choose to. I love Chris' story because I agree 100%. When he made the decision to make the change, he did. And I think that's everybody's story. When you look at, because I don't care who you are, right? You have been a slave to something at some point in time in your life. I'm not gonna lie, I used to watch you work out, bro. When I was downrange, and I was like, man, I'm gonna be just like that cat. That cat kind of swole. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
had itching to the gym. Why? Because I had anger issues because of my divorce. Just gonna be honest. So the weights became a way for me to control my anger, and then I got addicted to the weights until I hurt myself. So I had to stop doing it. But so it's just one of those things. When you have that vertebrae get compressed, but that's I'm not going to the knife for that. So it's life has a way of awakening you when it comes down to certain aspects of your life that's not right. The question is, are you going to be attentive enough to listen and make the change, or does it have to keep speaking to you in a louder voice until it really gets your attention and everybody's around you?
Makes sense to me.
You muted, Chris.
Can I interject for a hot second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's what a lot of people don't know about semen retention. If you've been addicted to letting off to visual stimulation for a long time and you automatically stop it, Antoine, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's the absolute hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. To stop doing something that, say that again.
Changes your libido.
That's I get all of that, but it's still extremely difficult because you're telling your body to stop doing something that you've been doing for so long that your body doesn't know how it's going to react to it. I went through so many changes when I stopped. Like, I would have anxiety attacks. I would literally think that I was going, like my heart was going to pump out of my chest.
Why didn't you seek counseling?
I did. That's where I started.
Okay.
But still, even seeking counseling, changing the habit as a whole is still difficult on the body, because the body's used to you doing a certain thing for a certain amount of time. And once you stop, your body will think, okay, something's wrong. And then it'll try to divert you back to what you used to do. But that's where the mental strength comes into play, where you say, all right, I know my body's telling me this, but I tell my body what to do. Like CT Fletcher used to say, I tell you what to do. I run this. You don't tell me nothing. This is my body. You understand what I'm saying? It's extremely difficult. But
Listen, any
the
addiction
path is it's the difficulty and the craziness that you go through is something that's absolutely worth it in the end, because your body will thank you, your mind will thank you, and your life will thank you, because you'll start going in directions that you never thought you would go. And I'm gonna end it with that.
Listen,
Yeah, I like it, man.
Listen, I like to say I've been through those emotional addictions. All right, not in necessarily with drugs and semen and all that porn shit. I've been through that. I've had my own addictions. You certain thing, but I'm always.
This can be your final thoughts, Antoine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always one to speak on the importance of mental health and seeking help. I'm never going to be that guy that does it alone, because I know I can't. And anybody that says they can is only fooling themselves, because all they're doing is pushing it down deeper until one day it's triggered. It will come up. Rather now, tomorrow, it will come up. Sometimes you don't have the tools to get rid of it. Sure, you can suppress it. Anything can be suppressed, but the tools to get rid of it and know the trigger points and know what triggers you and knows what heals and knows how to not let it trigger you. Those are two different things, and those people are trained for a reason. There's certain things they can bring out that you may be thinking to lead to what you want to do. It's not necessarily the porn. It's the thing that leads you up to wanting to get to see that porn. So, and they know these roads. And I'm not one to struggle and find a road on my own. Really don't care about that masculine tough shit. I just like, you know what? I'm lost. I have no problem seeking help. I have no problem telling people that want to help. You really ain't gonna change my life by making fun if you think that it's embarrassing to admit you get help. I really think that's the problem with people. Don't put your ego before your health. Really ain't gonna help you.
All right. We're gonna go next. Final thoughts. Let's wrap it up. We're gonna end with we go with Vic, Chris, Coach, and Elliot, and then we'll close out the show.
I'm gonna keep it short. We talked about physical and mental strength. The fusion of the two is the most optimal situation, because you have a situation where you can go create something on behalf of other people. Because if you're physically and mentally strong, you should endeavor to create opportunities for others, so they don't have to have it as hard as you had it from before. You need to live a life of service and pay it forward, because there was a time where you wish you had a you. So we're living in times now where you are the leader that you've been waiting on. You just have to work on behalf of others and on behalf of good deeds, and you'll be taken care of along the way.
You got Chris.
Mental toughness is key. Mental strength is key. That's where it should start. So if you need help, go get it. We need more strong men. We need more men like the men on this panel, because weak men create tough times. So we have to be strong as men. And that's not some type of buzzword. It's legitimately what we need in our society. We need strong men who can protect. And like I said before, protection is preventative. So I'm going to just leave it with that.
Accountable masculinity.
On you, Coach.
Yeah, like everybody else, I'm gonna keep it short, man. Look, everybody's addicted to something. Whatever that looks like. You're addicted to, and I kind of talked about a few seconds ago. It's important for us to self-reflect. Self-reflection destroys ego, right? I know somebody mentioned that earlier. I think it's important to understand that self-reflection destroys ego. The more I look internally and understand the things that I'm suffering from. And the more I attach myself to people who can help me with those, not not depend on them, but help me with those. I don't want to create dependency, right? I want to create great relationships who will actually have a direction in life. Men, like Vic said, accountable masculinity, right? Men who are empowering men to be great within their own space, right? That's what we need within our own space. So I think every man has the ability to be great. You just have to believe that within yourself. Forget all of the white noise in the airways, the social medias, the highways, and about. Forget all that, man. Get with some men who can speak life into you so that you can literally be that positive masculine force, not just for yourself, but for your children, for your family, like for all those people who love and depend on you. And then help somebody else get there as well. Because that's how we can get these young brothers off the street. That's how we can get these fathers back in the lives of their children. And that's how we can help turn what we're looking at right now around in a positive direction so that we can create partnerships, not adversarial relationships.
And I appreciate that. Hey, last but not least, Elliot, please wrap us up with your final
I
thoughts.
just want to say that this is an amazing group. I'm happy that you guys invited me and see what you guys got going on. And then I know you guys are making YouTube videos, and I think that it's amazing that the world gets to hear conversations from like-minded men, mature men, men who are on the ascension, as opposed to most of what we see in the culture right now. So the most important thing that men could do today is get together and speak and be transparent about what's going on in our lives, going on in the lives of the world, and be then committed to taking action, right? Because what's the value of talking if we're not going to do anything about it?
Facts right there. Hey, thanks everybody for being on the panel today. Thanks everybody who watching at home. And until next time, tune into Elevated Dialogue. We are out.